What I like about building with scrap isn't that scrap tells a story, but rather that it takes an old story and forms it anew. This particular piece of scrap I pulled from a rock, like Excalibur, from the riverbank near a particular waterfall that holds some level of significance in my own annals. My fiance and I met on an unnamed dating app a few years ago. I won't divulge which dating app it was, but it had to do with an animal, and that animal certainly wasn't a fish. The picture that netted me such a giant fish contained a waterfall and calves. Most importantly, calves. It was a picture taken by my cousin from downstream on one fate-bound sunny afternoon as we gaily cavorted in the warm summer waters, fully relishing the fantastic life I am currently, mostly, making up. As soon as he showed it to me, I told him that picture would net me a wife, and here, 42 years later, I sit engaged to the finest fish that fateful waterfall has ever provided. On a repeat visit to this waterfall, as we often do, I noticed a piece of metal emerging from a boulder along the riverbank. Being the romantic that I am, I saw the value in this situation as a way to prove myself to my fiancé. By wresting this stake from the bowels of the earth, like Arthur dislodging Excalibur, I shall win the favor of my fair lady of the waterfall. So I thought. Rest I did. For 3 long days and 3 long nights I rested, tossing and turning, dreaming, cajoling, pleading, and sometimes even whining, until at last, on dawn of the 4th day, I returned. Clad in white, rested and full of vigor, to pick up a rock and lightly bash the side of the stake, dislodging it nearly fully and making its further removal trivial, much to the delight of my lady and probably impressing a few passing fish as well. But, as it turns out, back in reality, pulling bits of metal from rocks isn't a sure shot to impressing anyone. And once again I was let down by the unrealistic expectations set by modern 13th century tales of fancy. In fact, in my experience, people tend to view you with some measure of consternation afterwards. Always concerned about the honorifics you've suddenly started demanding, like Sir and King, and questioning the futility of grocery shopping with a rusted length of scrap metal tucked under the crook of your arm. Clearly, the tale of Arthur left out some crucial details, and subsequently my Excalibur needed some work. For if my feat of strength failed to win the heart of my beloved, then I would win her over with a feat of craftsmanship instead. My quest then was to turn this barnacle-covered hexagonal embarrassment into a perfectly circular engagement ring, fit for the finger of the fairest lady in the land. My original goal was to install a diamond I have laying around from an old generic engagement ring I'd misguidedly bought for cheap in my youth while traveling overseas in the equatorial region. But fiscal irresponsibility doesn't a jeweler make, and I quickly ran into a roadblock when brainstorming how to set this gem into its finalized scrap metal housing. At this juncture, I figured it better to scale back my goals and instead produce a much simpler, unbejeweled wedding band instead. As my lady deserves all the jewels the universe has to plunder, this jewelless hunk of metal was unfit to decorate the likes of her fair finger. And so, instead of making a ring for my fiancé, I made a ring for myself. For while we all deserve the entirety of jewels in the world, I find it tolerable to degrade myself with unbejeweled river garbage so long as it means her hands remain perfect and unsullied. Thus, like a true hero of old, I made myself a ring, and gave it to my lady of the waterfall on her day of birth, 76 long years after the day itself. So we end our Arthurian tale. Ringful and bound, Atlas standing his lone sentinel watch, naked but unsullied, bound to the sky as we to the ones we love. Inexorably linked through folklore and myth, duty and acceptance, forevermore awash in the cool, sweet water as it makes its tumultuous transition from the raging falls to the gentlest of caresses. Does this ring capture the timeless beauty of King Arthur? That I leave for you to decide, dear viewer, for my bias leads me to choose yes. A man without purpose is a man wasted. We all search for our Excalibur, that moment that defines who we become, born again amongst the detritus of our aimless past, rising from the river to march downstream unto our great purpose beyond. For that is the moment we find our truest path, our focus finally finding purchase, our journey truly beginning. The gates of our future standing open, welcoming, for boundless opportunity awaits. Safely aloft in the protective guiding waters of the falls, cavorting with our fellow fish on our inevitable journey to the dark sea.